There is this joke I heard recently that captures the current state of software development pretty well. A CEO is giving a speech at the company's Christmas party and says, "I have some good news and some bad news." The bad news is that 2025 was the worst year in the company's history. The good news is that 2025 will be better than 2026. The truth is that 2025 was full of layoffs, stopped projects, and an overwhelming uncertainty brought by the most hyped villain in recent history. But that's old news, and I made various videos on this exact topic in the past few months. This is the first Monday of 2026, and I believe some good old-fashioned optimism and some New Year resolutions are in order. Don't worry, I'm not qualified to give you any healthy eating or fitness advice, because, let's be honest, a software developer isn't the poster child for a balanced lifestyle, and late-night cake and pizzas don't exactly pair well with maintaining a six-pack. However, I can share with you my realistic software goals for 2026. For a bit of context, I'm a software developer with more than 15 years of experience across various languages and frameworks, and, trust me, I'm just as worried as everyone else about the changes this new AI era will bring to our field. However, I'm also a strong believer in the saying, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So this Monday, let's talk about my plans to stay relevant in this industry in 2026.
It's the Monday morning review.
This might sound as a surprise, but one of the biggest things I'm planning for 2026 is to actually get good at working with coding agents. Wait, don't rage close this video yet, because I promise this is not yet another AI hype video, and I have some good arguments for this. DHH, who was so successful in creating good quality software products that he can afford hobbies involving very fast and expensive cars, had this to say about AI recently. "I still love to write code by hand, but you're cheating yourself if you don't at least have a look at what the frontier is like at the moment." In other words, in the last year, some of the code generation tools got good enough to stop being toys and start actually improving part of the developer experience. Pair this with Linus Torvalds' recent statements, who still dislikes all this hype around AI, but acknowledges that these models are now genuinely useful for Linux development and can be used to at least maintain code. Torvalds, for those who don't know him already, is the creator of Linux, but more importantly, he is known as a very outspoken, famously skeptical and strict engineer who is allergic to hype and marketing nonsense. This is why an AI endorsement from him should make us all stop and think about the probability of AI actually sticking around as a real part of our workflows, not just as a temporary hype cycle. It's also important to mention that these guys have no skin in the game. They are not part of a big tech company trying to push their version of coding agents, and they have nothing to gain if we are using these LLM tools or not. So when these guys who have decades of experience at the highest levels of software development are adjusting their stance on AI, it's smart for all of us to pay really close attention. There is this amazing article I read recently, which introduces a fascinating new concept called industrial software. The main takeaway is that AI-generated code is just the industrialization of software, and, I have to be honest, it kind of makes sense. Think of a handmade painting where the author spent months thinking about every brush stroke versus a printed poster. The poster is not art, but it scales so much easier. And, to the untrained eye, both look the same when you're standing 10 meters away. Or compare a mechanical watch full of complications that takes thousands of dollars to build with a quartz watch that costs just a few dollars and keeps better time. One is craftsmanship for its own sake, and the other is industrial efficiency. The author is arguing that software is drifting toward the quartz watch whether we like it or not, and the signs of companies shifting away from focusing on code quality are already here. For most of its history, software implied some degree of complexity. You needed time, skill, and experience. Code was expensive because people were expensive and people were the bottleneck. AI coding breaks that model by making production cheaper, faster, and increasingly disconnected from human expertise. And once production detaches from skill, you don't get better code, you just get more code. Note that all articles hyping AI focus on quantity, not quality, because nobody cares about quality in an industrial revolution. When any industry undergoes industrialization, the immediate effect is almost never an increase in quality, craftsmanship, or long-term reliability, but a sharp increase in volume. The moment barriers to production fall, labor is partially removed from the equation, specialized skills stop being the primary constraint, and output accelerates faster than the surrounding ecosystem can realistically absorb or sustain. What's really interesting is that once production is cheap enough, the system optimizes for junk. Advancements in the printing press eventually gave us books like 50 Shades of Grey, just as advancements in agriculture eventually gave us ultra-processed food. None of these technologies were created with bad intentions, but economic pressure consistently bends mass production towards high volume, low durability, and low individual value. So, when people say that AI is not good enough to produce reliable code, and I was one of the people arguing this, they might be right, but it doesn't matter, because the rules of the game have changed. The economic reality is that low-quality mass-produced software will often be more than good enough to win, just like a cheap plastic mass-produced toy will be much more profitable for the manufacturer than a handcrafted wooden one that takes weeks to make and is built to last a lifetime. So my stance on AI-generated code in 2026 is shifting from pessimistic to cautiously realistic. But, of course, acknowledging the power of AI and gaining experience with coding agents is just the tip of the iceberg. Because what will continue to differentiate a highly valuable software developer from a vibe coder button pusher is the other 90% of the iceberg. You know, the thing that no one likes to talk about because it doesn't bring in likes, views, or VC money. I'm talking about boring stuff like knowledge and experience. You'll find out that in any industrialized process, there are still choke points where automation is limited and humans are still the decisive factor. Factories still need engineers, and mass food production still needs nutritionists, safety regulators, and people who understand supply chains. Even the most automated systems still rely on a small group of people who actually understand how the whole thing fits together, where it breaks, and what the second and third order effects look like when something goes wrong. Software is no different. AI can guess code really well, but it doesn't really understand anything about it other than the probability of the next token. So my second priority for 2026 is to continue learning, master the basics, and become a true software developer generalist. A few weeks back, I discussed this concept of full stack fatigue, but I believe this is where we'll be able to provide the most value moving forward. In Robert Heinlein's words, a human being should be able to change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a sheep, design a building, write a sonnet, balance accounts, build a wall, set a bone, comfort the dying, take orders, give orders, cooperate, act alone, solve equations, analyze a new problem, pitch manure, program a computer, cook a tasty meal, fight efficiently, die gallantly. Specialization is for insects. This is what we should aim to do in the software world as well. I started this channel mostly to document my process of learning about new languages, frameworks, and software concepts, and in 2026 I will continue doing that. We'll look at more programming languages, more runtime internals, more databases, more operating systems, and more boring fundamentals that actually compound over time. Learning new stuff is fun, but understanding how different layers fit together is the only reliable way for us to move forward. We also got to 100k subs, and I want to thank you guys for all the support and feedback that helped keep me grounded. I also want to thank some of the creators who promoted or mentioned my content in recent years, because their indirect support also helped create your second favorite tech channel. As always, please abuse all the YouTube buttons, and until next time, thank you for watching.